It's 10:05 now. As Dr. Harriman said, we are about to start. We'd like to start promptly. My name is Adeyemi Oyewumi. I would like to welcome everybody to this Founder Series talk of the Kunle Hassan Eye Foundation Academy. It's the first in our series, and we welcome everybody. I'll just quickly go through the agenda for today. We hope as we're starting, we're trying to start promptly. I'll just give some of the basic house rules as regards this this presentation and webinar today. As much as possible, while you're not talking, would appreciate if you're able to mute your microphone. The agenda for today is as shown on the screen now. We're going to have the welcome, which is after this introduction. I'll hand over to Dr. Ayo Harriman, Director of the Kunle Hassan Eye Foundation Academy, to take over after the introduction. We'll have the introduction of the speaker, and we have the presentation from the speaker for today, that's Dr. Kunle Hassan. We would then have an interactive session after Dr. Hassan speaks, taking mostly questions and having a sort of an interactive session with him. As much as possible, we'll try to encourage people to type their questions in the chat boxes to allow us to capture everything, and then we can make sure we take it. But where possible as well, we might invite one or two people to perhaps say something, but so you can indicate by raising your hand, and we'll try as much as possible to call people. And then by 11:25, we'll have the closing remarks. Thank you so much. So without further ado, we're going to get on to the next item. I just want to welcome everybody again and give a bit of some background into the Kunle Hassan Eye Foundation Academy, which is a key and a very critical part of the Eye Foundation Hospital Group, as everybody knows it. The Kunle Hassan Eye Foundation Academy was formerly known as the Deseret Community Vision Institute, and is a part of the Eye Foundation Hospital Group that actually anchors and oversees the training of all eye care professionals within the group, both also in the profession as well across the country and internationally. It oversees training for ophthalmology residents, fellows, mid-level ophthalmic practitioners, optometrists, as well as ophthalmic nurses, both within the group and outside of the group. And as part of the vision, as we will be hearing from Dr. Hassan, training and human capital development is a critical part of developing a sustainable infrastructure. And so from the onset, it was part of the vision for Eye Foundation Hospital. The Eye Foundation Hospital was established in 1993 with a vision to eliminate avoidable blindness by providing equitable, qualitative, and quantitative care, and ensuring that nobody that deserves to get care is denied that access. And through that, it meant that over the years, the organization has evolved both in size, in scale, in reach, and also in terms of the different platforms by which it achieves this vision. A part of it is the Eye Foundation Hospital, which is a private arm of the hospital that anchors and has been the driver of all the other platforms. Then the other component is the Eye Foundation Community Hospital, a social enterprise that was also established by the group to extend quality eye care to poor and vulnerable people within the society. And it's done this since 2006 at different scales and in partnership with a whole range of organizations. And then, like I said, the Kunle Hassan Eye Foundation Academy was formerly known as the Deseret Community Vision Institute, oversees the training. It's currently undergoing a sort of a rebranding, and as over time, you probably hear more from us about its activities and all its events. And then within the group as well, there's the Summit Vision Management Company, which is an investment and management company that is helping to drive the expansion and also the diversification of eye care, of the eye care impact of the group. At this point, I would like to introduce Dr. Ayo Harriman, who is the director of the Kunle Hassan Eye Foundation Academy, to introduce Dr. Hassan. Dr. Harriman, over to you.
Thank you very much, Yamin. Good morning, everyone, and welcome again to the first in the series of these lectures being given by Otumba Dr. Adekunle Hassan, who is the founder and chief medical director of the Eye Foundation Hospital Groups. He's internationally recognized as a consultant ophthalmic surgeon with a wide experience and specialization in vitreoretinal, glaucoma, anterior segment, cataract, and oculoplastic surgery. He's a recipient of several lifetime achievement and excellence awards, and is the first Nigerian and African to be honored with the International Council of Ophthalmology MAC TSO Golden Apple Award, presented to leaders in international ophthalmology for demonstrated innovation or exceptional achievements in ophthalmic education. He has over 100 publications, both scientific and research papers to his name, and more than 90 academic, professional, and society awards for his contribution to the different spheres of life. So yeah, something is blocking my view here, so I'll just enlarge this just a minute. Yes, so in the field of ophthalmology, he has held and still holds some of the following positions. He's in 2008 to 2017, he was the president of the Africa Ophthalmological Council. In 2008 to 2016, he was a board member of the International Council of Ophthalmology. Sorry, in 2008 to 2017, he was the president of the African Ophthalmological Council. He's an advocacy coordinator for Africa. Sorry, he was an advocacy coordinator for Africa in the International Council of Ophthalmology. 2009 to 2013, he was the president of the Ophthalmological Society of Nigeria, and is a council member of the International Agency for the Prevention of Blindness. Next slide. Can we have the next slide? Yes, he has played and still plays an active role in the corporate world with extensive corporate executive and non-executive boardroom roles in healthcare, finance, and microfinance sectors. He was a board member of the Diamond Bank PLC, now Access Bank, for over 10 years, and that was from 2006 to 2016. He was the chairman, governance, and personnel committee of the Diamond Bank PLC, now Access Bank. He was a board member of the Audit and Risk Management Committee in Diamond Bank, now Access Bank. He's the chairman of Health Partners Limited. He's also the chairman of the Deseret International Hospitals Limited. He's also the chairman of Summit Healthcare Hospitals Limited, and is an executive chairman of the Lion Economic Development Foundation under microfinance. He was appointed in 2020 as the chairman, board of management of the BC Onabanjo University Teaching Hospital in Ogun State, here in Nigeria. Now, through the Eye Foundation Hospital Group, he has created a robust and sustainable infrastructure to drive his vision to eliminate avoidable blindness in Nigeria and sub-Saharan Africa. The institutions he founded continue to set standards for quality eye care and public-private partnerships. He's therefore fully qualified to give us this talk today. And therefore, we welcome you, Dr. Hassan, to give us this talk on sustainable, sorry, just a minute. On sustainability of eye care in eye care institutions in sub-Saharan Africa. Thank you very much, and we welcome you.
Thank you, Dr. Harriman. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Yes.
I I'd like to thank you all for creating time to listen to what I have to say, and also to thank the Dr. Ayman and his team um, for their role in creating the Konrad Azanai Foundation Academy. Um, as as I get older, I just felt, what can I give back to the profession, and that's why the Konrad Azan Academy, I Foundation Academy, came into being, and we've been working on it. We've been given us a lot of series of lectures on ocular pathology within the system, but now we thought we should expand it more to a wider audience. My talk today is part of a 10 series of talk on building and maintaining a sustainable eye care institution in sub-Saharan Africa, and try to focus on some of the experience of high foundation hospital developments as a study case to help others ensuring on a journey towards success, and also to be able to understand, and probably they don't have to reinvent the wheel if they all do understand. So this one is just an introduction in one of the 10 series of lectures I intend to give on building and maintaining sustainable eye care institution in sub-Saharan Africa. The lectures will be on the first Saturday of every month from now till December, and we address specifically different points. However, today I would like to share with you the beginning of the journey. I went into ophthalmology, that was in 1979. I was working at the General Hospital in Abeokuta, and I wanted to specialize. So I looked to what they call the government order, the GO. And the GO, you see all the vacancies in the different specialties of medicine. And I was surprised to see that ophthalmology had only one specialist in the whole of the state, serving a population of about 3 million then. So I decided, well, I was going to go into ophthalmology. And when I resigned from the hospital to go to UCH, Professor Lurie gave me admission to come and do ophthalmology UCH. Then the state government realized that they were going to lose me to UCH. So I was given an in-service training to go abroad and did study ophthalmology. And the late Dr. Who was the head of the department of ophthalmology, Dr. Oshi, in State Hospital Abeokuta, was able to introduce me to Professor Wallace Fowles, and that's how I went to Tennant Institute of Ophthalmology in Glasgow to start off my training in 1979. It's nice to share the background of what Nigeria was then. In 1979, Nigeria was a very successful state. Actually, when I was going my in-service training, the exchange rate of $1 to a naira was $1.60. So the naira was almost equivalent to a pound. So the things were going on well. And the dream of everybody, at least myself at that time, was that we finish, we come back home, and we help to build our nation. But along the line, when the military came in, things changed. However, that's how we started, and I was able to complete my ophthalmic training, and by 1980, within 4 years, I was holding the senior registrar post, and things were going on well. And then I had the idea that we have to come back home. But things were changing at home. There were devaluation, there were a lot of structural adjustment in the economy, and things were tough. So at that time, we gathered about 6 of us in different disciplines. We have Dr. Akin Ojo, and a lot of my colleagues in Ops and Gynae, and we decided that we should, including the late Dr. Amole, that we should come back home, put our resources together, and start a hospital. At that time, we called it the International Medical Foundation Group. And the group contributed funding so that we can start organizing ourselves. But as the economic situation declined at home, a lot of our colleagues lost interest. And at the end of the day, we have to give the contribution back. And so I find myself alone, still dreaming of coming back home to practice ophthalmology. I was lucky then. Professor Bayoju, we were in the same group in Glasgow with Professor Wallace Folds. And Professor Wallace Folds had an interview with me to decide whether I want to go back to Nigeria or I want to stay in UK and take a career. And I told him my plans to go back to Nigeria. And he was kind enough to get me a job in Saudi Arabia, since I have little retinal experience, so that I can get some money to achieve my goal of coming back to Nigeria. So we are thinking of a group that can fund the beginning of what we're going to do. We lost that to economic changes, but I was able to go to Saudi Arabia and focus on ophthalmology. However, the most interesting thing that when I got to Saudi Arabia, I met a lot of my senior colleagues, my teachers, the type of Dr. Jide Gbademosi, Dr. Kunle Daoud, and a lot of them. And I look at those were my teachers, and they left home to come to Saudi Arabia because the economic situation in Nigeria was bad. But I made up my mind that when I'm 40, I was coming back to Nigeria. So I was able to gather enough resources to come back home. So really, the key thing is to have the dream. And one thing that is constant is change. And these changes can be very, very disruptive, or it can be very good according to what level you are in your planning. But what is most important is the dream. And once you have the dream and you set the goal. So my goal was, I was coming back home to start what I believe in, and I will give it a try. And a lot of my colleagues discouraged me from coming back home because there was SAP, structural adjustment, things were tough, but I made up my mind I was coming home. That if I come home and I fail, one thing nobody can take away from me or anybody is your intellectual capacity. You can always, you can lose your money, you can lose your wife, you can lose your husband, but one thing there is nobody can take away from you is your intellectual capacity. So I told them, if I fail on getting back to Nigeria, I would definitely come back anywhere I want to work. And then I know, but I was going to try. And that was the beginning of my coming to Nigeria. So on getting back home, the tax was quite, when you look at the cost of renting or cost of starting a practice was colossal, because all the money I made in Saudi Arabia went on paying for equipment. Even by the time I was going to get those equipment, some of the companies have already been bought or taken over or acquired by another company. But I was able to get brand new equipment and bring them home. And it was so bad at that time that I didn't even have money to buy a car to come back home. So I had to graft on my wife's car and bought a very old ambulance that I was driving around them. But I was focused on getting the institution started. Some of my friends were very good. I remember Dr. Kenroye, the Humana Medical Center, was able to give me a room in his practice. So we started our practice at 22 Ribadi Road in one room. And there I have my diagnostic, I have my everything, display of lenses and frames. And that's how we started in 1993, in that single room. But having got there, I realized the limitations. I realized that the economy then depends on retainership. It's a credit facility for the companies on which you're paid. I realized that all the money you say you are making, we were just acting like a bank because some of that money will never be repaid. So you're creating a buffer of almost a 30 days buffer, giving services, dispensing your drugs. At the end of the day, you are paid 30 days and that 30 days will be on, and there's no interest paid on that money. So I made up my mind I was not going to do retainership. And everybody thought that we cannot survive. So right from the beginning, 95% of our sales were retail. Might not translate to big money like retainership, but at least there's cash flow, a good cash flow in hand in order to buy what we need to keep the practice going. So there's a lot of lessons that we pick up at the beginning. Then I soon realized that skill, the human resources, is the strength of any organization. I was on my own. I was running up and down and doing everything. And I could feel that I was being exhausted all the time. And therefore, I was unable to give the best to my patients. What's the next step? I spoke to some ophthalmologists. Some of them are still around, mostly ladies. And I said, why can't we form a group practice? We don't need money to form a group practice. Just bring a little, the equipments are there, and I analyze the group practice. But you will lose your autonomy. You cannot control the fund. We have to do everything together, and people have to pay it according to performance. It didn't sound well to most of my colleagues. Most of them were ladies, and therefore I found myself I was my own. That stimulated my interest, that if I'm going to go beyond what I am, I'm going to create an institution instead of building an individual. I have to train people. I have to let part of my investment be in people so that the skill available to accelerate the growth of the organization and create an institution will be on that. So I realized very highly that apart from funding, apart from skilled human resources, is very important. The second is providing the enabling environment such that you can easily clone them and have a multiplying effect to the extent that you can create a stable organization that is financially stable, that's healthy, and you'll be able to break even within a period of time. But I was still dreaming. It's good to dream big, but it takes a lot of sacrifice and experience in order to tilt the balance towards a positive growth. So at that time, as I was just getting to the flat level to start to rise, then another challenge came. I discovered that a lot of the patients cannot pay for the service. So what do we do? If a lot of patients cannot pay for the service, Do we turn them away? So what I did was to approach some of my top level clients, Professor Lambo, then Elijah Okuno, Brew Graves, who was the WHO representative in Nigeria, and a bit of the top guys, and discuss my problem with them. And that's how we decided to form the I Foundation charity part of the organization and set up a trustee to drive that so that we can provide service for the needy. And what we did at that time was to make sure that we see the poor people twice a week. But no sooner that we started that, you can't control the flow. People hear that they can come to our foundation and they can get subsidized treatment. They start coming even on Monday, Tuesday, every day. And that was affecting our patients who are fee paying. So we have to do a rethink of our best. And that's how decision was reached that we should take the service to the less privileged and let the rich come to the hospital and be in the ambience that is suitable for them. And that is the beginning of the idea of having something for the less privileged, like an NGO status, and then the private sector. This we launched in 1995. Coincidentally, we call it Focus for Sight. That was my first outing into the public in Nigeria. And because of the goodwill and because of the efforts despite one microscope and everything, we traveled all over the country doing ICAMs in Kano, Kaduna, Mina, Benin, all over. We're able to present what we call Focus on Sight in 1995 to educate the public about the eyesight problem. The present head of state, General Buhari, was there then, the chairman, and that's what at the Monsoon Center. And we had a good outing, and that's the beginning of our relationship in building the public interest and awareness in eye care. Not sooner than that, things then came the idea, how am I going to handle all this? If my friends are coming from Europe, they're coming from America, and we're having expeditions and we're having this, how can I sustain it? Then came the idea of starting a training institution that we should train residents. When we floated the idea of training residents, it looked strange. The only person that believed in my vision then was Professor Oshitelu. Others, no way. I had a good friend who's an Israeli ambassador. We visited Lod, we met Professor Maja Kotomi and others, but they could not see my vision. The idea was, okay, if I want to train, I should come to Luth and train. She was prepared to have me in as a, to work at Luth, but that was not my vision. So I have to think outside the box. I created an international faculty. All my friends, colleagues from Glasgow, from US, from all over the world that we know, created an international faculty and worked with them to create a back-to-back visit to Nigeria so that we can start a training. And I went to the late Ibru and this brother, God Ibru. We're running the Sheraton Hotel because we have to house some of these members of the faculty. And good enough, they offer us Sheraton for $100 a night, a special concession rate for anybody coming as member of our international faculty. And that's how we started and advertised for residency in ophthalmology. 60 residents applied, and we did exam for them and written an MCQ and oral, and at the end of the day, 8 of them were at the same level. We were planning to take 4 residents, but we decided, okay, we take 8 of them, and along the line, some will drop off. And that's how we started the residency program. However, there is the but there. Where will these guys do the exams? The Nigerian college cannot just accredit us straight away on fantasy thinking, nor the West African college. But good enough, I was able to talk to some of the people in ICO, and that is how we set in for the ISO examination. That if the resident can pass the ICO Part 1, Part 2, then they can go overseas and if a center is accredited, they can do their exams in UK. And that's exactly what we did. So through the international faculty, we were able to get accreditation from the Royal College of Glasgow, Edinburgh, and UK. On the basis of that, and back-to-back training coming from UK, Dr. Barry, and all the consultant, Jim Standafa, we were able to train those residents. And along the line, at least some of them didn't believe in the vision, drop off. But at least at the end of the day, we had 4. And on passing the exams, the ICO 1 and 2, Dr. Derilo and Dr. Konko proceeded to Glasgow to do a 6-month internship. And from there, they were able to do the exam. They've had enough surgical experience, more than an average UK senior registrar. They've had more than 500 cataracts to the records. They started retina and everything. And on getting there, they made a landmark, and they went to Edinburgh, and they passed the exam once. I didn't pass my fellowship once. I had to fail 1 or 2 times before I got my fellowship. But they passed the exam once, and they passed the London diploma straight away at once. And they came back. And they came back to Nigeria, and in 2005, they got their fellowship in 2003, and 2003. We started residency in 1997, and in 2003, we did the graduation of fellows. It's whereby they got their certificate from the Royal College of Edinburgh, and Dr. Oke also got the exams in public health and diploma. We make sure that we had a very good outing, and at that, Professor Olurin was the chair, and the guest lecture was given by the president of the college, Nigerian college, I think Professor Odugbemi. And we have representatives from the Royal College, and they got a certificate. Then that's how the question started. If the Royal College can accredit us, what happened to Nigerian College and the West African College? And within a year, we were accredited by the West African College and also accredited later on by the Nigerian College. So the point I'm trying to make there is, if you believe in a dream, if you're really committed, there'll be obstacles, there'll be challenges, there'll be opposition in all things. It's part of life. But that should strengthen you to go ahead, because that will invariably form the fulcrum on which that institution will be built. And the residents that you are training, the junior ones that you are investing in, passing through those phases, strengthening their conviction that they can achieve something in their country. They can build something that will be of international standard in their country. And I think the consultants that's been built within that system today can bear witness to that. Their international standing in America, Vitreoretinal Surgery Society, they're there. They're all internet. They're publishing papers because the character of the institution that forms their own personal character and rub on them, and vision and belief. That's the bedrock that drives them. And I always tell my colleagues, the money will come, make your name first. But what I see among the younger generation is they want to make the money first before making their name. And it's one of the reasons I desire that we should have this academy. To be able to, a lot of our junior colleagues now, they're just in a state of confusion. They don't even know what to do. They don't know whether there's anything future holds for them. Even if they go abroad, only a few percentage of them will get to the peak of their career. The competition is there, and there's no way they will walk into the upper level of the system because they've not been part of the system. Some may call it discrimination. It's not. If you invest your country resources in an institution, you owe the national of that country that their taxpayers have paid off those things. You can't expect them to embrace you and keep you. No, they give preference. That's part of what it is to be patriotic. I learned that when I was in Glasgow and Otura, UK. That really, if people make sacrifice to build their own institution, it's a privilege for me to be part of it, to learn from it. But it is my responsibility to take that knowledge back to build my own country, irrespective of the hardship. There's always a price to pay anywhere in the world, either in your home country or outside your country. So those are the fundamentals that is important in laying a foundation for creating an institution. I always see it as, if you read that book, The Spider and the Starfish, if you build an institution, if you crush the head of the spider, that's the end of the spider. So if you bring an organization along that line, the moment the head is there, it will crash because you've not built a system, you build an individual. Concentrate all things in the hand of an individual. But in case of a starfish, if you cut a starfish to 6 pieces, they all regenerate. So that's the philosophy. You've got to create the foundation that is so solid that through synergy of the individual abilities and capabilities, be able to survive any stress that is coming from anywhere. So this is very important. I want us to understand the essence of laying a foundation, the essence of setting your dreams, and you should dream very high. Never dream small. If you dream small, you will never create something big. All the things that are big that are created start like a mustard seed. For it to grow, you must have a dream that that thing will grow to a big tree, and you create something larger than life that will touch many lives. And in the process, if you lay a solid foundation, as we'll be discussing in another series, the succession will be in place. So it's very important to set your goals, take steps in realizing the goal, and have it in mind that change will be a constant element along the line. How you adapt to that change depends on the foundation that you laid. It depends on what you've put into forming the character of that institution that can withstand the stress. The human element is there, but can also be overcome. So, personally, experience at different phases of life have to be brought into bear in order to succeed. The second thing that's very important with the growth of our foundation is the sharing the vision. I may have the vision, I may get the support, but if the people you're working with do not share your vision, it will not work. So you have to do a lot in order to let the people understand your vision, because you pass through a phase where things will be tough and they will be able to stand by you. When I say I Foundation, people will say, oh, Dr. Azan, but the strength of I Foundation, Dr. Azan is just a little bit icing on the cake. The strength in the institution is those guys that were trained, like Dr. Congo, Adrenaline, Ashai, all those guys that were trained and they believe in the principles and philosophy of that institution. It's the philosophy that is laid and that is practiced and is expressed as a way of life within the institution. That's what makes the institution. I'm just lucky to be the ethical part of it. And when I'm not there, what will happen? If there's no processes in place to sustain that institution. So, and that's what led to the idea that we must share our experience. We must show gratitude and reflect on those who have helped us to get this level, to this level. And in other series of lecture, each topic we address specific areas that contributed in no measures to our success story. Our relations internationally, our relationship with ICO, our relationship with our American Academy. I'm glad people like Mike is around. Our relationship with Arabian Eye Hospital, what specific people have done at specific time. Our relationship with John Hopkins, and an ongoing relationship whereby we're able to get 5 centers in sub-Saharan Africa to create centers of excellence for Africa, for cataract surgery in Africa, which is based on a model that we created. And that's, we have 2 in Kenya, we have 1 in Zambia and 1 in Ethiopia. This can be cloned in this country or in any sub-Saharan Africa, and it will be successful. But we have to have the right attitude and the determination to succeed. Nobody will help us to build a nation. I repeat, nobody. We are the one that can make the difference. So through this series of lectures, I intend to share a collective experience. I intend to share a collaborative experience with other institutions, and also to point out that in sub-Saharan Africa, especially in my country, Nigeria, we can have a more impact and more high standard level of practice of ophthalmology in this country through collaboration. You know, we've got to get to a level of develop our spirituality. All things are temporal, spiritual before temporal. We get to a level where we say, as is quoted in the Bible, that you pray for your enemies, isn't it? You love your enemies. You pray for even those who despitefully use you. There will always be differences. The most important is, where do you want to go? Can we put interest above a larger interest of the profession and the patients above our own personal interest. We will always have differences. We always have whatever it is, but the strength of a man is giving in for a superior argument. Even if you are the head, if anybody give a superior argument that reflects what can add value to an institution, we should embrace it, wherever it's coming from. When we get to that level, then that's the beginning of change. It is not money. No matter how amount of money people can throw at anything, if the fundamentals are not there, if the philosophy are not there, if people has not bought the vision and carry out the vision, then it's not going to be successful. Another thing that doctors shy away from is money. Doctors don't want to be saying, oh, we are making money. But they're wasting this. It's not true. It's an illusion. Whatever you know you need, the only thing is you have to create the wealth. If you don't create the wealth, you can't appreciate what it takes to sweat and create that wealth. Then that wealth will not have a positive impact. So within the system, we must know how to create wealth. We must know wealth creation and the impact it can have. Without the wealth, you cannot sustain your practice in terms of human resources, in terms of equipment, in terms of being there. Whatever you do, you need those resources. And there's no way we can depend on resources from outside. The moment, because resources from outside, they have their own goal. If any organization are giving you fund, they have their own goal, what they expect from that fund, and they have the right for it. But if you can generate your own resources, then you can drive your own goal. It might take longer, but you get there. And whatever you do, you must also have an exit strategy for everybody within the system. So right away from the foundation, when you are laying the stones, you consider what is the exit strategy for yourself, for your consultants, for your nurse, all your human resources. What are the exit strategy for them? And you must always bear in mind that they have families. There are things that are important within the society they have to do. They may not be rich, big guys, but they be contented, they will achieve the goals they want to do, and then they will feel fulfilled. So right away from the beginning and laying the foundation, all these things must be considered. And that is what has helped us in our foundation, because right away from the beginning, we consider every step of the foundation. We strengthen where it's weak, we learn to experience, and we never shy away from taking a decision that might even hit us and send us back to planning. And that's what builds the strength within the system. So laying the foundation is critical. It involves trimming your dreams, seeing what is achievable at a particular goal, and cascade your dream at every level as you move up, once you have the resources to back it up. And your goal must be focused, must be critical, not diffuse. And you must concentrate on certain goal at a time. When you achieve that goal, there are other value change that goes with what you're achieving, and they'll be able to settle under different levels as you are going for the apex of that goal. So your goals must be achievable, the targets must be there, and you must just focus on one or two goals. And after that, you must see what are the steps, what are the proactive actions you have to take in order to sustain those goals. Where are the sphere of influence you have to? And that is why a group influence is better than individual influence. If you work in a group and you build a team, each team will have their sphere of influence. As the collation of those bubble of sphere of influence will form a solid rock that will make the goal you set achievable and also to move higher. And there must always be an evaluation. You must have a dashboard. You must have an evaluation measuring what you're doing. If you can't measure what you're doing, you're just living in fantasy. In measuring what you're doing, you'll be able to see area you're excelling, you'll be able to see area where you need to do more, and you'll be able to identify talents within the system who can take care of those weak points. And if you don't have it in your system, you'll be able to pay a premium to have it. And once you evaluate your goal, you evaluate your achievements, you identify the key drivers in that your setup, you are on. No amount of opposition, no amount of challenges you cannot overcome, because you form a solid foundation that allows you to recalibrate and see how effective you can. There are times you have a setback, but you have this inner strength to overcome those setbacks and set a different level. Sometimes your progression might be delayed, but if you address it, then you rise out of it and your progress will be in multiple summation, even to a higher level that you expected. So fundamentally, the most important in the beginning of our journey is laying that foundation and don't cut corners. We gave it all it takes. We invest in people. We took a plunge into the system, and we were constant about what we are saying. We're constant about our goal. And anybody that has a character that does not fall within that vision. So a vision is not a vision, it's shared. And today in our foundation, after I've put about 30 years into that organization, I can sit back, and because there are people who are there, both on the clinical side, on the management side, that we share the same vision and we're driving it. Hence, we can always, every month we look at the things we're doing, we assess it, so we can always look at the data and interpret the data in such a way that we can realign things and how to do. So this is how our journey has started, the beginning of our journey, and this is how we lay our foundation that leads us to it. So in the other series, I will put it in blocks and discuss in details. Able to move from a one-room apartment clinic, and today we have 7 big hospitals, and we have over 5 primary healthcare centers, and we have about 30-something doctors in the system. We have more than 15 consultants, the senior registered, the residents, and be able to achieve what we achieve. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hassan, for this very inspirational talk and very important subject, building and maintaining a sustainable eye care institution in sub-Saharan Africa, using the Eye Foundation as a case study. I would like to encourage our listeners to post your questions in the chat box area. We do have one question, but I'll first like to just recap some of the things Dr. Hassan has mentioned. What the most important thing is have a dream, and that we should remember that one thing that is constant is change. Have a big dream. Believe in yourself, believe in the vision, and that is the bedrock. So, and be ready to make the sacrifice in everything we do. Lay a foundation. It's very important. Develop yourself spiritually. Have collaboration. Be determined to succeed. So one of the questions we have by Ade Hassan is, how do you maintain focus in the midst of increased competition? How do you maintain focus in the midst of increased competition?
Do you want me to take the question one by one, or we have all the question and?
Okay, that one has just come in, so we're waiting for more questions.
Okay.
Yes.
In any sphere of life, in any business, competition will come. Because as you are thinking of doing something, there are thousands of people who are thinking of doing the same thing. It's those who can bring into reality that matters. And as you get in our field, I mean, there are many, at the beginning, we're like a single voice. But within that period, there are a lot of other people with ideas and have many clinics, and you can only stay on top if you keep through innovation and creativity. You must know that it's easy to get, I mean, you can struggle to get on top, but it's more difficult to stay at the top. For you to stay at the top, you must be very innovative, you must be very creative, you must have multiple ideas on how to improve things at different levels. You must spread your market. For we in our foundation, we have 3 levels. We are fantastic at the bottom of the pyramid. The bottom of this pyramid constitutes more than 60% of our surgery, 60% of free services. But there are value chains that goes with that bottom of the pyramid, an economy of scale, so you can break even at the bottom of the pyramid. Okay? Then the middle is there. And then the top level, you must be able to pay at the top level. Provide services that's commensurate with anything, anywhere in the world. And that needs a lot of investment in equipment and also in training and maintaining those things. So from the world when we are planning, we have laid the foundation. We created parallel companies that represent those equipment companies that can give us access and credibility. We created maintenance of those equipment, even the drugs we will use to ensure that it's standard drugs in a country where there's a lot of adulteration and a lot of generics. We have access to the best of the drugs at different levels. So that's thinking broadly and embracing competition, that it is something that provides the drive, it challenges you. And also it's good, competition is good because it gives the best to your patient. You want to be on top. Therefore, you have to improve your skill, you have to improve your knowledge, you have to improve the dynamics of how you get your service delivery and build relationships. So it's good for the patient and it's good for you. So it's a constant thing you must be, and that's why I say change must be a key factor. And you must have a way to feel the pulse of the people around you and also get a feedback from the people you are serving. Did that answer your question?
I want to believe it has answered the question. Let me see. Yes. Okay, there are just comments from Dan Kiage from Kenya. He said, Kunle, you continue inspiring all of us in Africa for your ingenuity, focus, determination, and above all, always willing to share. Let me see if there's any question. Podicom, okay, thank you. The other message of thank you. But one question I would like, there's another question from KJ, who says, how can we effectively and convincingly communicate our vision, especially to those who don't understand? Also, how do we ward off self-doubt in the hardest of times? This is similar to a question I was going to ask. So How can we effectively and convincingly communicate our vision? We have a big dream. How do we do that? How can we convince people about it, especially to those who don't understand? And how do we ward off self-doubt in the hardest of times? I don't know this. Okay, this one, that's one question. I don't know if you can also see some of the questions. Another one is, could you possibly share thoughts on how to build an entrepreneurial mindset into medical education? Ooh, the questions are coming so fast. Could you, so many questions are coming in. Okay, could you possibly share your thoughts on how to build an entrepreneurial mindset into medical education? Not necessarily for people to become entrepreneurs, but for doctors to learn to think in a build system mindset. That's from Sam Elion. Another question. Should I go on? Yes. Then another question is, from a sustainability perspective, can you talk a bit about how the Eye Foundation system has been able to weather the highly volatile economic environment in Nigeria? What was the journey like, and how did you survive it?
Okay.
Yes, then another one. During the early days, sir, did you ever consider giving up? What inspired you to continue? I think we all have that question at the back of our minds.
Right.
Another question from, yes, there's Frank from Tanzania who says, thank you for sharing. I love that a vision is not a vision unless it is shared. I look for other questions as well. I think I must have missed one. Okay. Could you possibly, okay, yes, I think I've asked that one. Okay, that's from
Dr. Iman, there's another one that says, during your early days, did you ever consider giving up? What inspired you to continue?
Yes,
Yeah.
I mentioned that, yes. So many.
Okay.
We'll look for other questions as well.
Right. Let's look at from the one on effective communication, especially people who don't understand, and self-doubt. One, communication, you can have a vision. You can have, as an entrepreneur, a lot of ideas bouncing off your head. Okay? But for you to convince people, you have to speak a language they understand. You have to break it. You have to have the skill to deal with people at different level of understanding. There are those who can pick up your language and run with it. And there are those who may not, but they have the resources to help you. So you have to come down to their level. And sometimes you may have to engage professionals to do that. We have that experience when we got a level of expansion, we want to raise funds. We have to get PwC to look into our system and help us put it the way it should be presented. Even when we are engaging investors, we have to pay professionals who understand their language on a roadshow and where their interest is. And so that we too will learn that they don't just cherry pick us. And sometimes you have to pay to learn. You may not want something, but you may have to invest money to go for training, to listen, to understand the language of your business, how you're going to do with it. So your own resources, a lot of resources online, but There's nothing that can replace experience. Look for people who's been there before and get somebody to mentor you, and that may change your perception, and that may direct you to the right way where you can just hit the button and things start happening. But never give up on that. When you talk of self-doubt, let me tell you, the greatest thing you can do, the worst you can do to yourself as a human being is to underestimate yourself. When you see problems all the time, when you see challenges all the time, don't see them as challenging. Ask the question, where are these challenges coming up? Can I turn those challenges to opportunities? Are there many people who are just saying the challenges and they're hanging fruits under them? Can I go under there and just pick up the hanging fruits and turn it to an opportunity and go? So you must always constantly review your position and relate it to the environment. Nothing is ideal. What is important is your own determination to achieve your goal. And sometimes you have to stoop to conquer. Okay? You have to stoop to go. You have to understand. And knowledge, even from a fool, you can get advice. Knowledge in life is not concentrated in one person. Always be brought to listen. Be a good listener and identify when you see something, follow it up. So please overcome that initial within yourself that's self-doubt, and no, just make up your mind. I'm going to do it. I will do it, and psychologically prepare yourself to when the going gets tough, the tough get going. So make yourself a tough guy. You fall many times, but it's to rise when you fall. Falling is part of the experience of life and can put you in a better place. That's then there's some thought on medical education, entrepreneurship, and all these things. People, right now, if you look the different systems that prepare people for that sort of entrepreneurship. If you look at US, education is broad-based in US. You can do accountancy, you can do other things, and you end up in medical school, as long as you have the requirement, biology, and all the other, credits that are required. In such a place, and now you look in America, there are a lot of MBA courses for doctors and all these things. So the doctors are seeing that it's not, the medical profession is not for doctors alone. It's for policymakers, business investors, and all these things. It's a huge market. Even at the last academy in US, the problem was what will happen to this younger generation. The older ones that build the ophthalmology practice is been successful. They make money, they make sacrifice. Now the investors are coming to pick them up. And those investors will end up employing ophthalmologists and started telling them what to do. And at the end of the day, what happened? The standard will fall. That is a challenge in a stable in US. The same thing is here. It's everywhere. So it's how we react to it. We must train our guys how to deal with it in the world, because they're not on their own. In our institution, we have meetings every month, and we have clinical meetings, and we have quarterly meetings. We present all the parameters of a business and analyze it. And this is how they can build the entrepreneurship. Even if it's not that, it is build management skill to understand that they're in business, to understand that they must be looking at the bottom line, the income, the expenditure. They must be able to sustain the standard of equipment and things. So you don't take money out of your business, you will invest it. And to be able to run the organization as an organization, not an extension of your pocket, as commonly done in Africa, but to know that you can only earn what you work for. So it's creating a system that teach those residents the discipline of finances, management, and wealth creation. Some of these will be I will deal with some of these in a series of lectures on specific topics. We go more into details. Sharing this concept, I Foundation has been successful over the year. A lot of these in our next series of lectures, I'll be able to expand on them. And then the early days, what happened is, well, if I tell my stories, you know, the first day we were going to open I Foundation, we've everything is ready. We opened the third day, there was the strike. Babangida must go. We had to shut down. I myself had to leave the country for 3 months. And for me to be able to pay staff, I had to take up locum job in UK. I did consultant local jobs. I had to use the money to make sure that I can pay the salary of the staff that are there, despite the fact that there was crisis in the country. There will always be multiple crises, but it's how you prepare for it that we help. And then much as we treat other series of lectures, I'll be able to share experience, cases, particular problems arriving at a particular critical time, and how we're able to solve it. But one of the strengths is the fact that I was not alone. There were people who we can reason together, who we can say this is the next step to do. Is that aggregates of strength is the story of the foundation. So I will share some of these on other different topics, and we'll be able to deep more into it and answer more of your questions.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. We have only 2 minutes to closing. So other questions will be presented to the speaker. He will talk about them at his next visit. I'd like us to keep to time. And Yemi, are you on? Sorry, how many minutes do we have left? Do we have any time for any more questions?
Yeah, I think if we can take the final round of questions briefly, I think we can probably go over by 5 minutes. I think it's the questions that are coming, but I think maybe the next round of questions we'll take will be the last one, if that's okay.
Okay, there's a question here that says the business ecosystem has changed dramatically in the last 30 years. What are your recommendations for contemporary startups? That is one. Yemi, please, you can read all that questions in case I've missed some.
All right, okay, I'll quickly do that now. So there's another one that says, how do you balance your talent pool while offering equitable opportunity to all? That's from Dr. Caria Lewis. There is another one. Just quickly. Okay, probably another one. Let me just take the final one. I think those are that's the last set of questions. We'll take those ones and then we can end. Dr. Hassan can.
Can you repeat, Dr. Lewis? Can you repeat those 2 questions again?
Okay, so how do you balance building your talent pool while offering equitable opportunity to all, especially as you have a vision of providing sustainable eye care to everybody, regardless of economic means? And then the other question that Dr. Harriman said was the whole business ecosystem has
changed. Are you there? Hello?
Okay, I think well, maybe it's the network. The business system has changed dramatically in the last 30 years. What are your recommendations for contemporary startups?
Okay.
That's by Modupe Salami. I think you got Dr. Lewis' question.
Yes.
How do you balance building your talent pool while offering equitable opportunity to all? Then there was another one that asked, how do you, sorry, where is it? It talks about how do you keep your, yes, how can you build and maintain a mainstay of elites, sorry, coming to your institution for treatment? So just those three questions.
Well, on the talent pool, I mean, it should be part of your plan from the beginning, the sort of talent you required. You look at your industry, you look at usually their baseline, things that are common that everybody's doing. You look at others that are not so easily accessible, and you plan, and you also match your team. You make sure you get the best, intellectually best candidates for whatever you're going to do. So in ophthalmology, you have different subspecialties. So you look at those who have that ability, the best among them, and to give them all is necessary to train them. In terms of, as that is evolving and as you're training your residents, and even not just residents alone, other members of the team, you can easily identify those who have what it takes to fill. So you must be pragmatic. You must focus that you put a round peg in a round with the best person for the job. It's not you have to be very neutral and unsentimental when it comes to skill acquisition, when it comes to talent pool, and making sure that everybody will rise to the level they want to get to by assisting them and not showing favoritisms. That is very important because that builds the morale of the people that are working with you, and then they can trust you. And also, you must be prepared to take difficult decisions at difficult times when you think that that value is being threatened. In our foundation, we have our core value, and that core value drives what we do. I will be able to expatiate on that in some of my topics. The other one in these 30 years and what is going now is all part of change. If you can't 30 years plan something and think that you'll be going on 30 years, so you must continually do research. You must continually collect data and interpret those data, and you'll be able to find the trend of where things are going. And you must prepare to train your people along that line. Technology is changing. Now we are talking of telemedicine. Now we are talking of paperless electronic medical records. You have to. So you have to budget into that. These are the things you must align. Your resources, where you're getting them from, and how you are utilizing them. So if you can do that, then you'll be on top. And at different times there'll be collaboration. Now, 30 years ago, it's not easy to get funding. Now you can get funding as long as you can show that you generate the resources, and that resources is controlled not by one person, but that resources is controlled by a team within the organization and is applicable. But if you are running the organization and it's like an extension of your pocket, you can determine what to do, you can spend the money anyhow, then you won't see good people to follow you because they know that will crash. But if you create a system where there's financial transparency, where there's procurement and discuss things that are in processes, and you use the best brain to do it, people will trust you. Your organization will grow. People will read your books. And the companies, the banks will give you money to expand. And also investors will come and ask you questions once they can get a good return on their business. So it's to have a business-like attitude, is to be able to put back what you're generating back into the system, and you keep generating more. And the bigger the bigger the plan, and the bigger the sources of income along the base of the pyramid, which is big, but at the same time, it can be self-sustainable. You need those base of the pyramid for your training. You need them, so you're not doing them a favor. You need them for your training. You need them. There is a value chain of glasses, of drugs, and all these things that will make it sustainable. You can do the surgery free, but the value chains along can create little wealth in large volume that will make that place sustainable. Then you look at the middle class, where you can have the variation. The top, for you to be at the top, you must have the latest technology. And when you have the latest technology, you must have the skill to use it and get the results. And that's how you can balance across and maintain a very good system. So you have to constantly be adapting to changes, economic changes, and have a team that is constantly reviewing that. In our own organization, it goes to a level, I can cope with most of the things. Then we create the management company, and we source for the best brains. And you must pay a premium for it to keep the best brain. So you are not thinking alone. You are not thinking of a survival organization. And it's when that organization survives, then you know that if we take care of you, if we take care of your retirement, your pension, your shares in the structures, yeah. So if you do that, is what it takes to build that sort of system and to build an organization that is robust and that can survive and wave through all the challenges. Then you know you're in business. If not, many of those institutions, as we've seen it in Africa, once the owner is gone, that's the end of it. Whereas if you look at Europe, if you look in America, they're big, and everybody is it's better to have a little bit of a pie that is good, well baked, than to own a pie. So it's the value of that little bit that makes a difference. You can have a hospital and you own everything and it's not moving forward. But if you have a big collaboration, a huge institution, you create an institution, even having a little shares in that institution can be better than 10 single solo hospitals. So in economic terms, you have to be visionary, you have to be bold, and you have to make sure you put your money where your mouth is, and make sure that that institution is an institution. It's not an extension of your pocket. And you must be transparent enough and generate enough wealth to attract the best brain. I will talk in future on the model under succession plan, the models that are available to ensure that people get value for their work and can see a progressive increase in their earning as they are creating the wealth. So we look at different financial models in our other topics. In the 10 series of talks, I tend to give every first Saturday of the month.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Any extra questions will be forwarded to you. Some people have asked if we'll get a copy of the series. We'll work on that. But I want to thank everyone for coming. That is one. For joining. That is one. We have audience from all over India, the UK, Kenya, South Africa, Nigeria. So thank you very much for joining us at this first series. I'm sure we're all looking forward to the next 9 series, since there are 10 series, the next 9 series. We cannot get this from a business book. This is from experience. So thank you very much, Dr. Hassan, and we look forward to the other pearls that you have for us to succeed. Thank you, and thank you very much, everyone. So have a lovely weekend. Well, what is left of it, and goodbye.